Now on CoastTV News.
A homeless shelter left in ruins in Ocean City. Volunteers working in freezing temperatures and a dangerous cold that is not letting up. Plus, an icy mess on many neighborhood streets in Sussex County. Black ice and slush taking over the roads.
Temperatures dip dangerously low. We are now under a cold weather advisory.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
You're looking at an Ocean City homeless shelter destroyed after Sunday's storm. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Christina DeRobertis. Well, winter wreckage, that's what we're calling it, the damage done to one safe haven in Ocean City. CoastTV reporter Kevin Zappé shows us who was hurt the most by the icy storm.
The rough storm along the coast has finally settled, but left in its wake a homeless shelter outside St. Paul's by the Sea Church destroyed. Now this tarp here used to hang from end to end, protecting multiple tents from weather conditions. But after all of this snow, that tarp has since collapsed. Volunteers are now out in the freezing temperatures cleaning up the mess.
We noticed on our security camera that the tarp had fallen. None of our clients were here. They were all safe. They were up at the cold weather shelter. They're just up here cleaning things out, getting people's belongings out. We're going to put them inside, get them to dry off a little bit.
According to Lake, the people who usually stay here will continue to stay at the St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Ocean City for the remainder of the week as temperatures continue to drop. And in this blistering cold, everyone will be fighting against frozen sidewalks and black ice for days to come. Black ice like this usually begins to form when temperatures fall below freezing, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. According to our first alert weather forecast, we're not even close to the average for this time of year, with high temperatures expected to stay below freezing throughout the week. For those who have to work outside in these conditions, Lake hopes they bundle up.
Gloves and really take breaks. Be careful with snow, shoveling snow, that kind of thing. So watch out for ice.
With temperatures continuing to fall, black ice will remain a major concern. I'm Kevin Zappé, Ocean City, CoastTV News.
Now, by the way, if you or someone you know needs help during the storm or in the aftermath of the storm, you can call 211. This is in Delaware for help with shelter, food, or medical resources. Delmarva Power says its systems held up well during the winter storm, with few outages reported across Delaware and Maryland. The company says years of upgrades and quick work by crews made the difference. But even with that success, Delmarva Power is now asking regulators to raise electric rates. The utility company wants nearly $68 million more in base rates and a higher monthly customer charge. If approved, these interim rates could take effect next summer. Drivers in Worcester County can get back on the roads today without snow emergency restrictions in place. Maryland State Police at the Berlin Barracks say the snow emergency plan was lifted about 3 p.m. today. That was after working with local agencies and the Maryland Department of Transportation. Many school districts on Delmarva will remain closed tomorrow. Some are virtual, but some are completely closed. You can find a full list of all of those closures along with churches and other organizations over on our website, coasttv.com, or our mobile app. Just click the Closings and Delays banner at the top of the homepage. And tomorrow, state offices in Kent County will open late at 10 a.m. Non-essential employees can report to work at 10 a.m., but essential employees who are designated for severe weather should report as scheduled. Offices in Newcastle and Sussex counties will operate on their regular schedules tomorrow. Now let's look live into Ocean City and turn it over to our first alert chief meteorologist, Paul Williams, for a check on the forecast.
Well, when you walk outside right now, you can just feel the seriousness of the cold that's out and about. And that's why we're under a cold weather advisory, meaning that the temperatures as well as the wind chill falling dangerously low, where it could actually cause medical problems for folks without chronic difficulties. Milford right now coming in at a very cold 18 degrees right now. And we're looking forward to stay at about 18 to 19 and kind of toggle between those two for the rest of the night, with mostly clear skies. Our our forecasted overnight low, we're going to drop to 12 in Harrington, 13 in Georgetown, Cambridge, Salisbury, and Princess Anne. That's not record setting, but it's well below where we should be for this time of the year. Cold weather advisory is active for all of Sussex. It's Seaford to Georgetown to Lewis, Rehoboth, Dagsboro, Selbyville, Ocean View, Scunboro over towards Delmar along 24, Highway 913 and 113. Now that also applies right over towards Cambridge along Highway 50 and 343, and then 313. And we're looking for it to stay that kind of cold near Ocean City and West Ocean City, Ocean Pines, St. Martin, Newark, as well as Gulf Club Shores. Now, on top of that, we have the winds whipping around at gale force velocity. So we're looking at 40-mile-per-hour winds, along with the temperatures tanking the way they are. Makes for a very cold combination for these conditions to stay a bit on the cautionary side. Currently, the temperature is 20 in Rehoboth and Long Neck, Millsboro, and Georgetown. We're at 18 degrees right now in Harrington, Bridgeville, 19 right now in Milford. Coming up, we're going to talk about the wind chill factors that will make these numbers look minor league compared to what it's going to actually feel like.
Thank you, Paul. Now here's a look at some of those unplowed neighborhoods. This is in Georgetown, Millsboro, Lewis, also in Milton today. Reporter Brandon Ferguson spoke to people in those communities who say they're just going to stay put for now.
Driving through ice, testing out Christmas presents, or walking through ice. That's what people across some neighborhoods on back roads were doing as their roads went unplowed. Jason Elowitz was playing with his kids off of school this snow day. Elowitz says he was expecting his neighborhood to be clear.
Our neighborhood did not get plowed. I guess they said it wasn't over the number of inches that they would qualify for plowing, but now it's kind of just an icy mess.
Al Miller was shoveling his driveway today and says neighbors were helping each other during the snowfall.
It was a good move on their part to do it yesterday, but I'm getting to it pretty good. Just taking my time, a little bit at a time, little chunks at a time, and I'll get it eventually.
It's not only this neighborhood in Angola. Here are neighborhoods from Georgetown and Millsboro, all unplowed.
We had wonderful neighbors with wonderful snow blowers that came by and did our corner.
With snow, then with rain overnight, roads are left frozen. Peter Alcala was outside with his son enjoying the snow. Alcala snowblowed his driveway and offered to do the same for other neighbors.
I haven't seen very many cars trying to pass to and from the house. I mean, I could guess from the tire treads that people have, but to that extent too, I would like to say that within the neighborhood, God forbid somebody was stuck, that people would come out to help them.
Neighborhoods on back roads left icy and slushy after Sunday's snow and rain.
That was Brandon Ferguson reporting. Now, much like the rest of Delmarva, Wicomico County also covered in ice today. Roads that were a slushy mess last night have now frozen over, and that has led to some difficult driving conditions, especially on side roads that have gotten little to no attention from the plows. The good news for drivers is that once you get onto the main roads, things are more clear, but there was virtually no sign of any lingering snow or ice on Route 50 or Route 13 today.
Especially trying to come around the corners, it's nothing but hydroplaning because your tires are just rolling. I slipped when it had first started snowing. Slid a little bit, but I remain controlled.
The main roads around Wicomico County are drivable and as of this morning had no ice or snow left on them. Now to Caroline County, the snow may have stopped there, but the impact still being felt, especially with those icy conditions hanging around on side streets and back roads. You might notice a trend here. Some people say they're taking advantage of the time inside and being productive while they're snowed in.
We hunker down and do things at home. We get the house clean, taxes need to be done. You know, there's various things around the house that need to be done. So no time like the present. Spring cleaning is here. It's January, time to get it done.
What a great attitude. And due to the weather conditions, Caroline County government offices will open at 10 a.m. tomorrow. With all this cold weather, the risk of frostbite is going up here on Delmarva. Doctors say smokers and people with pre-existing circulatory diseases are at higher risk for skin exposure. Bay Health says tingling, numbness, and pale skin are all signs it's time to get inside. And this all brings us to our CoastTV poll tonight. We're asking, what are you worried about with the weather? Let's look at the results. 12% worried about black ice, 15% say wind chills, 73% say they're worried that the snow will not melt. I am also worried about that. And you can still vote. Go to coasttv.com or use our mobile app. Let us know what you think. And be sure to download that Coast TV app for your phone and your tablet. In case you didn't know, you can also get Coast TV streaming app for your TV with devices like Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV. And we are just getting started tonight. Coming up ahead, the deadly cold and widespread outages, how the winter storm is impacting people across the nation. And Paul Williams is in the Coast TV First Alert Weather Center with a look at your full forecast right after this.
Well, we're dealing with the cold weather right now, and this has been the biggest concern, the residual effects of the cold following the snow that we experienced over the weekend, and now we're in the throngs of it. So expect for the cold to be not only continuous throughout the week, but becoming progressively worse, particularly as we get close to Thursday. Now, here's a look outside right now with Gateway Subaru, and we're seeing the waves pulling through because in addition to the cold, we have very active winds right now, keeping it very blustery and brisk along the shore, including Ocean City, where we have gale force winds combined with the cold that we're talking about. So that makes for an amalgam of things that we really don't want together, particularly outside. And walking along the beach is a not even a bad idea. It's an don't even go there. So here's what's happening. We'll drop down to 19 in Ocean City, and we're dealing with mostly clear skies for tonight. We have a cold weather advisory, something we don't typically get around here, but what that means is we have wind chills and temperatures that will become dangerously low. In other words, it could cause medical problems. And for those not with just chronic health problems, but just folks that don't necessarily have that problem, outdoor exposure could leave you susceptible to frostbite very easily. Now that's active for places like Lewis, Rehoboth, Georgetown, Seaford, Lowe's Crossroads, Delmar, Frankfort, as well as Ocean View, all of Sussex. Now that also applies over towards Cambridge, Linkwood, Bucktown, and the Madison area. In addition to that, folks that are in Dorchester, Somerset, Wacomico, and Worcester counties, you're in that same concerned area, at least until the morning time. Now, here's the gale wind warnings that I was telling you about. We're talking about 40-mile-per-hour winds with the temperatures tanking simultaneously. The entire peninsula is looking relatively clear right now, but clear skies in this instance does not help our case. It makes it worse because of radiational cooling. And then we have concerns for even more in the way of freezing spray around the edges of the Delmarva Peninsula. Overnight lows, places like Greenwood, 8, 9 in Seaford, 10 in Delmar, 9 Salisbury. And the winds are out of the west-northwest, between 8 to 17 miles per hour. Now, we've had a tracking of blue. In other words, usually the temperature trend here, whenever you see blue, that means it's below the norm for this time of the year. We're picking up more blues than reds, so now we're trending downward and we're staying that way. We have a genuine polar plunge thanks to the doors opening from the most northern portions of the globe, allowing for this colder air to filter down towards us. Temperatures in the 20s, feeling a whole lot worse. Take a look at this. 11 for the starting point in Milton, Ellendale, Georgetown, and Seaford for tomorrow. That's not even factoring in the winds. That's just the temperature. Pure and simple, no sugar, no chaser, no nothing, okay? Then we're looking at 25, for example, in Milton, as well as Georgetown, and that's with the winds coming out of the southwest. A brief cameo appearance of a snow shower or two at about 9 o'clock to about 10, and then it's gone. Then we go into Wednesday afternoon, temperatures in the teens, and that's if we're lucky for it to reach that. The temperature trend, this is actually the norm, 45. We're going to stay at 30, best case scenario. The rest of the time, our highs will be in the 20s. Our lows will be either single digits or the lower teens. That's cold enough to make your brain hurt inside in the heat. Looking for the wind chill, feeling like -2 on Tuesday, -2 and 3 on Wednesday, -8 on Thursday, -5 on Friday, and here we go, -13. On Saturday, -12 in Georgetown, -12 in Milton, and -10 in Delmar. And it just keeps getting better. So listen, frostbite threat is for real, really for the next 4 or 5 days, but some days are even worse than others, particularly for Saturday, and Thursday's pretty bad as well. Don't think of this as being just a brief thing. Listen, watch out for the signs of hypothermia, confusion, shivering, then speaking difficulty, and then sleepiness, and then finally stiff muscles, which means you are in serious trouble by the time we get to that. So a couple of things before I round it up. Avoid prolonged exposure to the cold, dress in multiple layers. cover exposed skin, know the signs of hypothermia, which we just went over, safely heat your home, and protect your pets. They are susceptible to it. One last thing, we could see another storm system get a little closer to us, but right now the early models are indicating it's going to pull just away from us, so we could get a grazing blow from it, but right now everything's looking favorable for us to avoid it. Cross our fingers and toes for that. Here's a look at your extended forecast, but we're still calling for a chance of a snow shower, but at least we're not talking about a snowstorm, well, at least not just yet.
All right, thank you, Paul. And meanwhile, at least 12 people have died in the brutal winter storm that swept across most of the country this weekend, damaging ice, knocking out power for more than 800,000 customers. As the work to recovery begins, Michael Yoshida shows us dangerous factors remain.
From the south to the northeast, heavy snow and ice impacting millions. The impacts of this storm devastating and deadly as the restoration is just beginning.
The temperature is not likely to get above freezing. It's more likely that things are going to get worse before they get better.
The storm has passed, but in some areas the trouble is just beginning. Over 250 million people are under cold alerts for frigid temps that will linger for days, raising fears for those without shelter or power.
We want to make sure that everyone, first and foremost, across the state takes care and reaches out to their friends and their family and their neighbors in these challenging times.
In some parts, crews working to restore power must contend with a staggering amount of snow that fell during the storm. The top snowfall total so far is 31 inches in New Mexico, while 12 states recorded half an inch of ice.
We lived here almost 20 years, and this is the worst. I can't remember one this bad.
In hard-hit Tennessee, neighbors are coming together to begin the recovery.
One neighbor comes out and starts looking at tree branches that needs to be taken off the road, and we all just come out. I think we probably had about 10 guys out here.
Travelers, meanwhile, remain stranded as widespread flight disruptions continued into Monday. Sunday was the worst day for flight cancellations since the pandemic.
Just wait in the you guys wait here in the airport because there's nowhere else to go. We can't get any Ubers, we can't find any hotels. This is the warmest place we've got, and this is the coldest I've ever been.
And as the cleanup and power restoration efforts continue from here in our nation's capital to many other communities across the country, leaders urging people to limit their time outside in the cold if they can, also to check on their neighbors and those in their communities who may be unhoused as we go through this brutal stretch of cold weather. In Washington, D.C., I'm Michael Yoshida.
Now, several warming centers across Delmarva remain open as dangerously cold temperatures continue. In Wicomico County, a cold weather shelter is open tonight at James M. Bennett High School in Salisbury. And in Talbot County, the Talbot Interfaith Shelter is open 24 hours through tonight and 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Tuesday. Some other options include the Easton Library and Grace Street Recovery Wellness Center. In Dorchester County, a temporary overnight shelter at 200 Washington Street in Cambridge that's open 24 hours until Tuesday. We're going to check in on our CoastTV poll again. We're still asking, what are you worried about most with this cold weather? 12% still say black ice, 15% with wind chills. Most people, though, worried that the snow is not going to melt. If you haven't voted, please do go to coasttv.com or use our mobile app. Coming up next, why your federal tax return could be a bit higher this year. But first, the latest on another deadly shooting in Minneapolis, the protests and political backlash it's sparking.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
The Trump administration ordering the Border Patrol leader in charge of Minneapolis to leave after the shooting death of protester Alex Preddy by ICE agents. The change, as NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reports, comes as a growing number of Republicans call for a full investigation of the shooting.
Tonight, the White House is facing mounting pressure over the deadly shooting in Minneapolis. Not only are Democrats threatening to block DHS funding, which could lead to a partial government shutdown on Friday.
We should be able to use our vote to push for reforms and a complete overhaul of this agency.
A growing number of Republicans are questioning the federal surge in Minnesota.
I think this situation is only going to get worse, and I really think that there are so many cities in the United States that have issues with criminal illegals that I think they would be better received in other cities.
Some in the GOP are now calling for a full investigation and congressional hearings. Others urging the White House to come up with a new game plan.
They, being the White House, need to recalibrate on what needs to be done to make sure that that respect is going to be reinstilled.
In Minnesota today, a Republican gubernatorial candidate even dropped out of the race.
I cannot support the National Republican's stated retribution on the citizens of our state.
Now, with Border Czar Tom Homan heading to Minnesota and Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino heading out, according to two administration officials, the White House is downplaying any friction among top officials, including Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
Should the deployment of Mr. Homan to Minneapolis be seen as a sign that the president is dissatisfied with how the officials on the ground had handled the incident?
No, Mr. Homan is doing an exceptional job, and he has been working with Secretary Noem and President Trump over the course of the last year. Secretary Noem still has the utmost confidence and trust of the President of the United States.
Coming up next, capping credit card interest rates, the president's proposal, but why major banks say it's a bad idea.
And here's a look at your Bay forecast. Listen, we're going to go from cold to even colder. From 30 for the high on Tuesday, for 25 for the high by Thursday.
Well, tax season is here and many Americans could see higher refunds this year. The Treasury Department estimating they'll average $1,000 more per household. That's because many filers did not adjust their withholdings when recent income tax breaks began. A new law boosting the individual standard deduction by $750 and by twice that for married couples. It also expands state and local tax deductions and gives a new break to some seniors. President Trump is pushing for a 10% cap on credit card rates as his latest attempt to quell affordability concerns, while Americans who are suffering from record high credit card debt may welcome the interest rate reduction. The banking industry is against it. Mary Bell Gonzalez breaks down who could be impacted most by the president's latest proposal.
I'm asking Congress to cap credit card interest rates at 10% for 1 year.
In an effort to boost affordability, the president is urging big cuts to credit card interest rates.
One of the biggest barriers to saving for a down payment has been surging credit card debt.
Right now, American households are facing the most credit card debt on record, going back to 1999. According to data from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, outstanding credit card balances hit more than $1.2 trillion in the third quarter of 2025.
The big benefit for anybody who has credit card debt is you'll just simply spend a lot less.
Yet the banking industry says the president's proposal would make things worse.
It would be an economic disaster. It would remove credit from 80% of Americans.
Some financial experts agree.
Banks might really pull back access to credit, especially for consumers with lower credit scores. They do not want to take on the risk.
And with fewer people being approved.
When consumers lose access to credit, which is anticipated if this rate cut goes in, they often reduce their spending on essentials like healthcare, education, food, and are more likely to fall behind on bills.
The average interest rate on credit cards is just under 20%, though according to Bankrate, some rates are much higher. Why?
There is no physical asset, no house, no car that the bank can take from you if you fail to make payments on your loan. And so that presents a higher risk for lenders.
I'm Mary Bell Gonzalez reporting.
Monday, President Trump announced plans to raise tariffs on certain goods from South Korea. In a social media post, Trump said he's increasing tariffs on South Korea's auto, lumber, and pharmacy industries from 15% to 25%. The president citing the Korean legislature's failure to enact a trade agreement with the U.S. It is unclear if the change has already gone into effect. Also, a partial shutdown of the federal government could be on the horizon. Sentiment is growing among Democratic lawmakers to reject a bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security. This weekend's deadly shooting of U.S. citizen Alex Preddy by ICE agents gave the movement more steam. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said his caucus won't give the measure the 60 votes it needs in its current form. Now, if that happens, the Departments of Defense, Transportation, Education, Health and Human Services, and Housing and Urban Development would also shut down. Some senators have suggested decoupling DHS from other departments and creating a funding bill just for it. The deadline to avoid a shutdown is on Friday. A tractor-trailer carrying propane turned over this morning on Route 50. Maryland State Police say the trailer tipped while heading west on Route 50 just before the Route 113 junction. Police say the weather conditions did not appear to contribute to the accident. Only minor injuries were reported for the driver, but the tank did leak. Now here's a live look into Lewis. We have one more check on your forecast right after this.
As we look on the streets of Salisbury, we can see even a bit of glazing over that's happening right now with what little leftover moisture, particularly up here where the ice are located. So it's going to be very important that you take your time on those roads for late tonight. Freezing spray advisory, meaning all the spray that pulls up as a result of the waves and all of that will immediately freeze upon contact of anything. It's going to be that kind of cold from Ocean City down towards Chincoteague and on the other side for the Chesapeake Bay and along the bridges is where it's really going to be a concern for something like that. Our umbrella giveaway winner is of Virginia Britain. Keep up with your forecast with our weather line, and here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast.
Thank you, Paul. I know it's not your fault it's going to be that cold, but it's upsetting to me. But thank you, and thanks to you for joining us for Coast TV at 11 tonight. You can download our Coast TV News app for news and weather anytime. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is up next, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Have a great night.